I wanted to share with you guys that my groceries have been trolling me, specifically potatoes. Like, what is that? You know what? Don't answer that question. Am I like holding that right? I don't even know how to hold this thing. I'm starting to think it's the neglect I've been giving potatoes. I can't with this thing. This entire recipe is about depth of flavor, but also reaching that depth with a desirable amount of time. The first most important thing in this recipe is you're gonna need a large skillet, maybe I would say like 10, 12 inches with high walls and a thick base, or even like a Dutch oven would work. That's because in the beginning of this recipe, it's gonna be about your ingredients and its contact with the heat. But then later in the recipe, it's gonna be about the sheer volume of ingredients and being able to contain it. When cooking, you'll find most people won't caramelize red onions, mostly because the aesthetics just aren't as pleasing in comparison to like a yellow or a white onion. Red ones tend to turn more gray as they caramelize rather than that beautiful dark brown color solely. So if you have the red ones on hand, use them, because honestly, who cares? At the end of the day, it's about taste, and the taste is pretty indistinguishable between all of them once you caramelize them. With all that said, in the beginning, we're going to caramelize the onions just a little bit, where you'll start to see the brown, and those brown bits begin to adhere to the base of the pot. I chose a white skillet this time around, just in hopes that you would have been able to see that happening during the cooking process. Did you catch that the salt was not added with the rest of the spices? That salt's being used to help draw out the moisture of the onions. This way, once they cook down, they're not completely just soft, so they'll have a bit firmness, but they're not like hard or anything. Do you have an ingredient that you love, but just don't seem to use enough? For me, that's potatoes. Sweet potatoes specifically, they're so stinking good. But if I was to swap them, especially around this time of year, I would probably go with like butternut squash, or maybe not, because they're starting to look like full-grown toddlers, especially when you need to get them in a cart. Put like a whole seatbelt around them. Either way, it's an easy choice with zero adjustments necessary. Regardless of your pick, just keep in mind, you want to cube everything uniform. I was gonna say like, you know, like a quarter size, but realized everyone who tunes in isn't American, and that would be super selfish of me. I would say about an inch. I would typically use like my hand and say like my middle finger, let's not do that. My middle finger's middle section as a good rule of thumb for size. That was much harder than it looked. As far as the beans go, kidney, pinto, cannellini are all good swaps. Don't be afraid if your stew is somewhat off in color, because I'm using black beans and they encourage more of a darker roast. The overall taste though should be pretty much in line. This stew is not spicy, although we are using sriracha, but it's strictly to invigorate depth, like we talked about earlier, while also bringing some of that undertone up, sort of like the garlic. Did I confess my affection for garlic, by the way? You can swap the coconut milk with any other plant-based milk, but this time, I do not recommend cooking longer to reduce. Stews are not soup. They're supposed to be thick. It's like the intention is within the name. Stew. Just squint your eyes and drag it out like that, and you'll feel what I'm saying. Therefore, to accomplish the same thing with another plant-based milk, you're gonna have to sprinkle in a little cornstarch or arrowroot powder, and that should get you there. What you're gonna do is cook everything as is, and once your potatoes are fork tender, that's how you know it's done. Make a slurry, pour that in, mix everything together, and within minutes, you should be able to tell if it's thick enough. But don't go too heavy, because you could always add. So I would recommend maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons, and then test it from there and see if it's your desired thickness. Recipe details can be found linked in the description or at makeitdairyfree.com. Thank you so much for your support with Believe in Good Gear. Oh, and you know, this, which is huge, I don't don't know what to say. Like, thank you just doesn't quite feel like enough. But it's awesome. You know, I feel like we're doing it. So thanks a ton. And until next time, believe in good. Peace.